Aloha. Welcome to today. It's another day. It's another day. And work still gotta be done. So this is what I'm gonna be doing. Keep doing what I'm doing like it's just another day. It is just another day. So today, this video, I want it to be not celebrating no Christopher Columbus Gregorian calendar nonsense. This is what I'm coining as the year of information. 2017 will be the year of information, not info wars. The information. Last year, I think my first video of the year was a quick video that was saying the 2016 would be the end of white supremacy, and that could be seen as 2016. Why it was so tragic and so crazy, because literally the world was flipped upside down and things were seen for what they have always been in this reality. We just haven't been looking at it. So people have been seeing it as, this is so shocking. President Trump being elected, and his cabinet, and the things that he's said, and the people that support him, is a proof, from my perspective, of the end of that mentality. It might seem like something else, but if you see it from the perspective that I'm feeling right now, that stuff, Donald Trump represents the last straw. Like, he represents the last, like, that camel's back has been broken forever. But in the eyes, in the reality of the people, Donald Trump represents the last straw. He's like the last samurai, the last of the Mohicans for that world. He's like trying to defend, he's out there to distract and defend that world that has been dead for decades, for centuries. It started off at the expense of other people's lives. It survives off of blood, death, and destruction. And like I'm saying in previous videos, this is not about race as much as it's about a mentality, a separation from spirit. And like I said, white is a mentality. Black is a mentality. Taken to the extremes, all of these are mentalities that have nothing to do with your soul essence. And when I saw everything lined up last year, I was like, okay, well, the way it's looking, this shit's going down. It's done. And the only way to make it look like it hasn't gone down is to put on a show like it's gone up. And that's what Donald Trump represents. So I woke up laughing this morning, and that's always a good sign. And before I started this video, I already had what I was going to talk about lined up. But before I sat down, I said, wait a second, what is this year going to be about? And it will be about information. Even in the last couple of weeks or a few days of last year, even talks in the so-called black conscious community were coming to the surface with particular so-called leaders being revealed, showing their true colors, showing who they really are. You see Alex Jones teaming up with Donald Trump. He's seen for who he was. So last year was like the cognitive dissonance phase. Like the end of white supremacy is really like subcategorized as cognitive dissonance being seen for what it is. And that's why it was so kind of like, it was like drinking verbal diarrhea last year. Like that's what people were drinking, because they were seeing what has been done to them pretty much. And Donald Trump is basically like the manifestation of political diarrhea, basically. So now you're gonna have shitty draws and diarrhea for 4 years, if it goes that long, because I don't know, 4 years feels like 12 years now. As the information and the consciousness of the people expands, time seems to speed up in your experience. If it's slowing down, that's because you're raising your vibration and you're at a higher frequency. So proof of that would be like when time flies, when you're having fun, when you're with people you love, when you're doing something that's exciting, whatever it is, time flies. But when you're at work, when you're in the last 45 minutes of work, when you're in the last, you don't want to be, so when you're at a meeting or something, it feels like that meeting's like 3 hours long and it's only like 30 minutes, then that's how you experience time, because you yourself, the way you perceive it, you're the perceiver of the time. So the time itself doesn't change, but your perception does, based upon your state of being, your frequency. So the overall state of being of how I'm seeing this reality is shifting, and it's in heavy relation to the amount of information that is being shared and understood and overstood by individuals and the collective. And this is why the so-called powers that be know this. This is why there is being so much focus on the censoring of information for them to maintain their dominance over you. So keeping technology secret keeps money in the pockets of the corporation, who profit off of releasing the iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 when they didn't invented that shit long time ago. Same with everything else. All the other flat screens and whatever other technologies that they release to you. That's for a profit. Ain't no different than the cancer industry making profit off of keeping cancer treatments illegal. This is the same structure of reality that is being promoted through your genetically modified foods and your commercials and so on and so forth, that make your kids think that eating junk food is cool, to think it's like hip to be a Chester Cheetah or Spud, what's his name? Spud McKenzie, like drink beer, and then the cool camel, and then all those happy ass Coca-Cola commercials and polar bears and Christmas Coca-Cola, put your name on Coca-Cola, all that kinds of bullshit. Anyway, instead of people just being happy in that world of, oh, well, this is This is our life. We're number one. Monkey evolution existed, and we are the best of the best because the university system said so. There's more to the story. People are actually seeing what it is. Flat Earth talks will be more and more received by people this year. The university system will be revealed for what it is. Just like last year, the public education system was heavily revealed for what it was and what it is. Now it will move up to the university system because last year the government was seen for what it is. Obviously with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The mainstream media, it's only kept alive. Like last year, it was kept alive with illusions from TV shows. Now it's being like a TV show time frame. Now it's being kept alive by illusions of commercial time frames. And that won't last too long. So anything that is needing to be longer than a commercial is going to crash in 2017, which is why the dominance factor of this world needs to be amplified, and simultaneously, since this is the way it's going to fight, the way it fights is to act like it's working for you, to act like it's changing based upon what they openly promote out there as change for you. So, one example, I'll get to this in a second. One example is this MTV racist video that was pumped out, excuse me, by MTV, being so-called liberal or whatever it is that they call themselves, talking about racist white guy. It's just this. It's ridiculous. It's this childish ass response to real world events, and you can see where they're coming from in some kind of way. But like I said before, it's not necessarily what they're saying, it's how they're saying it and who's saying it. That's more important. That's where that's like the, what's the terminology? Like when you're having a conversation with somebody and it's not so much about their words, but their body language. That's what it is. Their body language and their tone actually matters more than what they're saying. So this goes with everything that's being shared. Politics, government, education, technology, so-called conscious communities. Like in this conscious community where all this beef went down with these two so-called leaders in the so-called black conscious community, I already was well aware of one of the individuals over 2 years ago, and I just knew it was a matter of time because I saw that individual in person. I just knew it was a matter of time before people would see him for what he truly is, because I saw exactly who he was in person, and it was ridiculous to say the least. But anyway, that's just a microcosm of the macrocosm of the way the system is designed to protect its own power, protect its own dominance over people, dominance over consciousness. It has to create a scenario where it's for you, like the climate change mentality. Oh, well, they're talking about, you don't care about climate change, what's wrong with you? It's like, no, that's like 10 steps down the line from what we're talking about if you're coming from a flat earth perspective, when you realize that the climate change mentality is no different than globe head programming in movies and commercials and news, weather channel stuff and all that kind of stuff. This is a mind control program. It's designed to play the superhero for you based upon heroes. So it's not like it has a history of being a superhero. but it does have a history of making other people villains. So that makes a commercial superhero. That's what this system is based upon. Since everybody and that is seen as a villain the way they portray them on the television or on the radio or in movies or whatever it is that they put out there in news, mainstream media, they make villains in order to make themselves to be the superheroes. And another way to do this is with synthetic storylines like climate change and so on and so forth. So that's to not only to program you to the globe model, but to get you thinking like they care about you, like they're for you, like the public education system. That's not for you. That's for the conditioning of future generations. The university system and the American dream is not for you. That's for the enslavement, paid slavery of your mentality, of your experience as a whole, and future generations. But since you are so-called learning something, if you come at it from the perspective of the indigenous people, the aboriginal people, you know you're not learning anything about you. You're learning everything about Christopher Columbus and so on and so forth. You know what I'm talking about. So this is the example of what will no longer exist in the vibrations of cognitive dissonance. That was last year. That's why it was so difficult for so many people. It just manifested as, you know, all this tragedy and everything, because literally the worlds were flipped upside down. People's worlds were flipped upside down, internally and externally, and seen for what they were. And in order for the system to attempt to protect itself and create these other styles of, like, they care for you or they're taking care of you, they have to create superhero stories. So one example is obviously climate change. Another example is the like this story. Like obviously MTV is a mind control program. It's a conditioning program. It's no different than CNN and Fox News. So Fox News puts out stories for you to think and act a certain way. MTV is the same way. They create conversations. They create mentalities that make you think and act a certain way. So you just fit wherever you fit. Like Alex Jones, I did a video on this subject based upon how Alex Jones's people picked up this video and did a response to it, talking about, you know, well, it's actually like this. You know, this exists, but this, you're saying it like this. No, it exists like this. So they're telling you, they make their money off of telling you how your reality is. They're not about discussion. They're not about expanding information and seeing how deep these rabbit holes really go. They just play the role. They play the movie as it's presented to them. They don't pay attention to the director, the producer, the actors, the very movie theater, and the camera structure at all. They don't care about that shit. They only, because they can only be king, they can only be gods and kings within the movie scene. They cannot be exiting that movie theater. They can't address the entire idea of the movie itself, because if they do that, it will remove their illusory dominance over you, the ability to tell you information as if they are like the all-knowing people that's in their world. That's like the same way the system can't empower you with information or with in interpreting the reality. They can't tell you information that will remove the very fabric of their power over you, because that will remove their power completely. So instead, they have to keep you on a low vibration. This is where Alex Jones, TYT, the mainstream media, the university system, the heliocentric model, the secrecy programs, the secret space program, the disclosure program, the new age agenda, they got to keep you in these low vibrating codependent frequencies so that you are forever salivating for whatever the system tells you is next to be important, next to be spoken about. And within that changing of the scene, changing of command, then it's like I said, it's not so much what they're talking about, it's how they're talking about it and who's talking about it. And then you fit in with how whoever is talking about whatever they're talking about, and then that structures, that calibrates your consciousness, your individual and collective consciousness, because you have been conditioned to not think for yourself. It's not like anybody's fault or anything. This goes back generations upon generations. This is why we have been enslaved by the lack of information. This is why we have been enslaved with illusions, because we have been subject to this for so long, over so many generations, and they've consistently played the hero role, and we've consistently bought it. The New Age community, the secret space program community, the alien agenda and community has the same effect on people that climate change has on people. You believe that things are changing because that exists. It'll keep you waiting for the world to change around you, instead of for your world and the world to change from within you. There's a difference there. This is why the New Age community is so focused on aliens and star systems and all that other shit, and can't let that go. They can't even look at the flat earth information. They can't at all, because that will cut the legs out of the very foundation of the alien hypnosis that they are within, that holds up a lot of people's personalities. Like people's entire personalities are based upon the Pleiadians, is based upon the Andromedans and the Arcturians and the Orions and the Lyrans and whatever kind of star system people that you relate with, and even channelers. Some people, like when I used to listen to channelers, when I was researching what channelers are, one of the main ones was Bashar, and then I realized his limitations, or its limitations, and it was revealed for what it is, and I let it go. Now, the information that was coming out of that channel was making some kind of sense based upon the level of consciousness that I was at that time. But once I expanded out of that world, then I started to see a different perspective of where that energy fits and what that energy is. And then when I saw that, then I could see how that relates to all channelers and the New Age community and so on and so forth. People who are in that world actually adjust their consciousness to, it's like little kids looking up to older kids, like an 8-year-old looking up to a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, and they're friends. Like they grew up together, but they're friends, and now like an 8-year-old trying to be like a 12-year-old or something like that. But that's not how it's designed. Like it becomes an illusion, and then yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's the design of this program, is to keep you outside of yourself, to keep you in a particular vibration. So challenging those vibrations is a problem for people, because you're challenging who and what they are, who and what they think they are. They just like, so, and not only that, that's running on a regular basis, who people think they are, their personalities, their egos, and all that work that needs to be done. Not to mention the cultural work, the people themselves can't be seen for what it is, because everything is so all over the place, and there's so much disinformation and so much work that needs to be done in discernment land that people are just too tired to be doing that shit. So it's easy to stay in the Pleiadian world. It's easy to stay in the extraterrestrial, like, contact world and wait for the world to change around you. It's fucking difficult to change yourself from the inside out. It's difficult to, for lack of a better word, alienate yourself from the communities and the worlds that you have been so comfortable in for so long, because those worlds add depth and credibility to who and what you are, because you based who and what you are based upon those worlds. But that's not who and what you are. Who and what you are is naturally inside of you. It has nothing to do with what's outside of you ultimately. But since the external world is so vibrant, is so thick, is so obvious to us, and so thrown in our face with this bullshit, we just accept it for what it is. And in reference to like the flat earth stuff, and transhumanism and the new age community and all this stuff, people buy into whatever it is that they're comfortable with. And the very fabric of people's reality gets uprooted when they start looking into flat earth. It's easy to accept transhumanism because they've already accepted it in some kind of way, with having a smartphone basically surgically installed to their, their hip, with, or in their hand, with the way technology is today. It's already pretty much installed into the mind, where people can't be away from their phone for 10 seconds without having some kind of like Tyrone Bigum's sort of crackhead mentality of I need my phone, I need my work. That's what this shit is. So you become dependent on it, and then so anyway, that world exists. And then so that was like how I'm seeing what last year represented overall. Throughout the entire year, people could still play both sides of the fence. They could still play both sides of the fence. But I know, and they know, and we all know, people been looking at this information. They just haven't, like, just like when I started looking at flat earth information and all kinds of other stuff. But to stay on focus here, it took me a while to get to that point to where I was just like, oh okay, now I see how this all connects. But in that taking a little bit of a wild time frame, I didn't want to talk about shit. I didn't want to put myself out there and do all that, and I needed some time to allow that stuff to sink in. 2016 was about that. 2016, so that's basically still the old castles made of sand falling. Now 2017 is about, what are you gonna build now? What are you gonna build? Are you still gonna build out of sand? Are you still gonna build out of those old programs? Or are you gonna build something from the inside out? Because you have the information now. You can't hide it anymore. You can't hide behind who you think you are, because now you are charged with the responsibility of being who you actually are. And overall, everybody can, defend, oh, well, everybody's always who they are. Yeah, okay, I get it. But when you're talking about synthetic versions of reality running on the mind control program of stuff like the mainstream media, your university system, your reality as a whole, that creates a synthetic, just like people create an artificial ego when they become manager of Target or some shit like that, or whatever it is. People change based upon the synthetic world around them. So that's a synthetic reality. And yes, they still are the individuals. You will never be not who you are, but you can have an experience. Excuse me. You can have an experience that is filled with something else that is just total garbage. But you as the individual actually think that that's cool. Like you that's who you are anyway. So this exists on all kinds of levels. And in reference to like the flat earth stuff, if you're still having difficulty, since that stuff that's all last year, that shit's done. It's dry. It's old. Now you have to actually, that's where the before Trump even gets inaugurated, the Trump mentality actually dies before he gets inaugurated, because 2016 represents the death of that world, which he was elected / selected to be the leader of. So this is how things are changing so quickly. And before he becomes inaugurated, his whole platform is done, already done for. It's been done for. It's just now it's super done for, because people are seeing that world for what it is. And specifically in reference to the flat earth community, either the people who are researching and have put themselves out there to speak in reference to the flat earth realm against everything that the globe model has invented for the entire human collective to believe in and worship the heliocentric model. Either those largely very intelligent, critical thinkers, and in many ways courageous people, either they're completely nuts, and I'm included in that circle. Either we are completely nuts, or these are the choices you have. You can either call people who challenge challenge the globe, the heliocentric model. You can call them nuts for challenging it. Well, what's more true? Have we lost it or something? Or is it more possible that genocidal maniacs who have lied about everything from 9/11 to Vietnam to genetically modified foods to the cancer industry to the transhumanism world to the secret space program to Area 51 to the alien agenda to Hollywood to your university system, your public education system, the fluoridating in your water, the poisoning of the building over Native American burial grounds, the genocide and massacre of the indigenous people, the installing of racist agendas, the expanding of this global mentality, the lying to you about chemtrails, lying to you, like poisoning the oceans. These completely destructive assholes have been lying about every single thing except the very fabric of the universe, the very thing that, except NASA, the government and everybody, all that shit I just listed has been lying and profiting off of your ignorance. All that garbage exists that holds up the foundation of the illusions of these so-called powers that be. All that exists. But they couldn't be lying about the earth itself. They couldn't be lying about... NASA wouldn't lie. Scientists wouldn't lie. These are your choices. Either you call critical thinkers who are completely throwing their entire old school lives away at the expense of what they truly understand, and overstand to be the fabric of this reality, which is a realm overall, how I'm seeing it, a flat earth realm. You can call it flat earth, but it's an earth realm how I see it. Either we're nuts or crazy or whatever, or these genocidal, parasitic maniacs have been lying for centuries. Your choice. You pick whatever. You can pick. It's easy to pick on the individual. It's hard to actually look at the system that they're talking about and challenge that. That's why you have these trolls and so on and so forth who just take that ignorant stance and foundation and start attacking people because of whatever it is that they now see as their reality. The heliocentric model, the globe model, is the heaviest tool that gives these artificial leaders power to create a world, a universe. That's what the university system is. It's the biggest power scheme out there. They have created, there's no separation between the university system and the government. The very governments that's surveilling you and that has control of your social media and so on and so forth. There's no separation between them and NASA and CERN and all that other shit. So if you have things that are naturally looking kind of differently, like stuff like the Mandela effect, and things that are shifting, if you have no relationship or understanding that consciousness even exists or has any kind of reality, if you have no alchemical relationship to this reality, then the only way you'll be able to perceive it is from whatever they tell, however they tell you to perceive it as. So like the Mandela effect is perceived from a CERN perspective, and I'll get into that in a second. But that's because that's the next agenda to sell you, like the heliocentric model was designed to sell you into believing that they are the all-knowing, all-powerful powers that be. That CERN and that whole quantum universe, simulation theory, transhumanism reality is the next style of selling you the way the universe is. So if they tell you that we are in a simulation, and that then they can still maintain the heliocentric model based upon their simulation theory. So now they can still sell NASA, SpaceX, and so on and so forth, but now from the foundation, instead of the foundation of the Big Bang, they can sell it from the foundation of simulationism. And all of this is a simulation, and everything is just quantum, and so on and so forth. And that's how they can own. As long as they control the dialogue, they can own the movement. They can own the progress. They can own the time. And that's what it's about. Your focus and your time is what makes you the creator of your reality in that experience. So if they are creating your reality for you and fiddling around with the time and your focus, then they are actually becoming your God, your king. They already are king in a sense that they have domain over you, dominance over you with all of the maritime admiralty system, the fiat currency system. That's what makes them illusory kings. But what makes them gods is the very fabric of the heliocentric model and how they create your universe for you. Even your dreams are created and manipulated by this system. That's when you start, like I was speaking in reference to the last video, that's when you become God, artificial God in their universe. So another example like of the MTV racist mind control program of controlling the so-called progress and agenda. This what this image that you're looking at is, I don't know if you can even read it, but this is Alex Jones did a story on this in reference to the Bilderberg website that was hacked. And you can read all that stuff, but really what I wanted to focus on was one sentence in here that says, because this pretty much gives an example of like what I was just saying about controlling the dialogue, controlling the progress and the time and your focus. So I don't give a shit what's happening with that. I understand that this system has to implode, but you have to also understand that this system will do anything that it can to protect itself, including obviously false flags against itself. It will do everything to make it look like it's changing. That's ultimately what it's about. Like Trump, he was out there and is out there to make it look like this system is changing. Bernie Sanders was out there to make it look like, Jill Stein, all these people were out there to make it look like this system is changing. Celebrities were out there to back it up, to make it look like this system is changing. Were they at all addressing anything that is going to reveal the very fabric of this mind control program of the colonial universe as a whole? Never. Never. That was never the intention. The intention was always to make it look like this system is imploding in order to set the foundation for the expansion of the next storyline. And they do this with various styles and hit pieces and all kinds of other stuff. So this is one example of one of them. Like climate change was one of them. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna change. We're gonna be more sustainable, less fossil fuels, more solar energies. Like they don't give a shit about you. That's more about maintaining control over you to make it look like they're doing something for you. And I keep saying that, but I know. But I want to like make that the foundation for what I'm getting ready to talk about in a second, and what I'm talking about now, like the MTV stuff, and when they make that video, and then when Alex Jones makes that video in response to the MTV stuff, that's to make you think that Alex Jones is more like in caring for you, like they're for the people. Like, no, you're for Trump, ultimately, that mentality and the Make America Great Again mentality. You're not for the indigenous, you're not for nature. You're for the corporate so-called greatness of this mind control program named America. Actually is just the United States, the colonial British states of America. So this is another example. Like I said, this is an image that was spoken on. If you want to see the video that explains it even more, basically what it is they're saying that the Bilderberg website was hacked, and this was the image that it was revealing, saying, you know, we can get into your systems, we can do this, we can do that, you are pretty much on notice, and blah 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 blah. The sentence that stands out to me says, I can find it because it's small. Dear Bilderberg members from NOWO, each one of you have 1 year, 365 days to truly work in favor of humans and not your private interests. Okay. You already know where I'm going to come from this perspective. But knowing that, seeing that, see what kind of perspective Alex Jones came from. Celebration! Oh, wow! Even the Bilderberg community is not safe anymore. They were hacked. Yes, things are really changing. The inherent limitations within this is, first of all, the Bilderberg people don't give a fuck about humanity. Obviously. So if you're saying you are giving them 1 year to truly work in favor of humanity, they're laughing at you. If this is totally separate from them pulling a false flag on themselves, they're laughing at you because they don't give a fuck about this. But what makes this entirely suspect is the time frame of it. 1 year, you can already see the limitations there. First of all, they don't give a shit about you. Secondly, you're giving them power. Thirdly, this is 365 days. What the fuck does that even matter? Like, they're not gonna change. You think that the Bilderbergers are going to change and start working for humanity? And even if they did, they wouldn't be working in the best interest of humanity. They would always be working in the best interest of themselves. So this automatically makes this suspect. And what makes it suspect even more is that Alex Jones immediately picked this up and threw a fucking Happy New Year party talking about this is really changing and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying. So this is the kind of shit that gets put out there and you can never confirm whether or not this is valid, this is credible, as if it was actual hackers or a false flag against itself job to make it look like whatever. And like I said, this is about time and focus. Those are the two heavy duty energies that are controlling the consciousness overall. Time and focus. So if they can sell you time and they can manipulate your focus, then you're basically just an empty vessel now. You don't matter. So anyway, here's another example. This is a screenshot from Michael Moore, his old fucking shallow revolution ass out there. These are all plants. Michael Moore ain't no different than Alex Jones, a Cenk Uygur from TYT, and all these other assholes who are just speaking from inside the box. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, all these people inside the box of enslavement who ain't about empowering the people or revealing any information that expands outside of the box. They want to expand from within the box to make the box bigger. That's the design of these so-called change from within the illusory system. That's what it does. It expands the box. So you have these headpieces out here, like Donald Trump, like Michael Moore, who says, the 5-point plan for 2017. Brought to you by Michael Moore, the guy who brought you all of this information about this documentary and this documentary. Food, water, healthcare, whatever else, politics. So you gotta trust him. Hey, he's on MSNBC. He's laughing and joking with the anchors on MSNBC, the leaders of your mind control program. And you're supposed to listen to this asshole? Just like Trump adds credibility, so-called credibility, to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones does the same to Trump, and Bernie Sanders does the same to TYT, that TYT does to Bernie Sanders. Michael Moore, speaking on MSNBC after all the shit he's talked about, adds credibility to MSNBC, and MSNBC adds credibility to Michael Moore. This is the same program. So Michael Moore's 5-point plan for 2017. This is how they control your reality. You got hackers, so-called hackers, who are going attacking directly the Bilderberg group. You have MTV, who puts out a video talking about racism, that the supremacy program kinda exists, and since they were revealed for how racist they are inherently, they had to remove the video. Things are really changing. We are doing something. Change is happening. Like, okay, you're still inside a box. So back to Michael Moore. This is what this dude thinks is change. Visit your member of Congress. Insist the DNC appoint new progressive leaders. You insist that your slave master puts a progressive slave master ahead of your DNC, the slave control system. Form your own rapid response team. Plan to go to inauguration weekend protest. Protest the system. You ask the slave masters to do something for you instead of expanding your consciousness, realizing the story as a whole, empowering yourself, and cutting the legs out of the system overall by raising your consciousness around the system. These half-wit assholes who are paid by the government want you to expand the system itself. The only way it can expand is if you focus your time and your energy on the system, as the system tells you to focus its energy on it. That's the way the system can grow, because you're giving it a platform to from within its platform to expand, instead of empowering yourself to realize the system overall. And number 5, have a plan B. As bad as you think it will be worse. So there's the fear, there's the disempowerment, there's the hopelessness, all in one little 5-point plan, number 5. And then you have obviously the fear mentality of the scroll down on the bottom of states must greatly strengthen and expand its nuclear capability. Constant mind control programming. You see where I'm coming from. Basically, the essence of the stories get lost. Just like 9/11 and the fact that it's an inside job, and the implications of 9/11. The implications to challenge the entire government. The implications to challenge the entire university system who's defending this false flag, this military industrial complex. It's all working for one system. NASA, everything. CERN, everything. Just like people get distracted by a Barack Obama from 9/11 talks, you have Michael Moore, Alex Jones, and TYT distracting you from stories like Gary Webb and the fact that the CIA hired drug dealer Daniel Blandon and other traffickers to sell massive amounts of cocaine in the United States in order to raise untraceable funds to finance a terrorist organization known as the Contras, who were trying to overthrow the Nicaraguan government. This is a worldwide system that is being expanded. The colonial program is a lot broader than we are told by your so-called progressive news and alternative news and your movies and your new age community and all that shit. That's the distraction. So Gary Webb in itself and what he revealed, he's like a 9/11 in himself. He not that it was not in reference to the false flag of it all, but the distraction the inherent nature of them destroying them. So they took him out. He was vilified by the mainstream media and actually killed because of what he was revealing about the CIA and the whole war on drugs. And this ain't no different than the government installing crack and guns into the inner cities. Like this shit is all well known. The cancer industry is all well known. Making money off of your death. They make money off of holding back and making illegal the treatments for cancer. They make money off of your death, ultimately. And they make money off of your life leading up to your cancerous death by selling you genetically modified foods. And you're supposed to believe anything these assholes tell you on their mainstream media, on their alternative news and so-called Americana Revolution by Alex Jones and all this other shit. No, these are the stories that get missed. These are the stories that get washed over because people are too distracted by what is comfortable for them. They can't imagine you even talking about the crimes of the CIA itself. They can't imagine you talking about the crimes of the government itself. They can't imagine that shit. So, it's easy to be distracted. It's safer to be distracted. But that's the most destructive shit you can actually do. If you ask me, that's the most destructive shit you can do. Is to give away your life. That's to just be a zombie. To give away your fire to fear and illusion. Gary Webb revealed this information. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, all these people who have been speaking in reference to whether they lost their lives or had their lives threatened. You're basically, that's the only way that you're actually living. It's literally another universe. You can live in the dead universe, happy. This is what this colonial universe is. It's a genocidal universe. Dead connections to spirit. Dead connections to family. Dead connections to intelligence and ancestors. All this dead energy. That's the colonial universe. They profit off of parasitism. And anybody who challenges that, the fabric of that reality, will be removed from the reality if they see fit. So, you can choose to live in that sort of universe, or you can challenge yourself to expand your innerverse and realize how deep this program really goes. Because this system will only expand itself. They got their lackeys out there trying to tell you that they're for you and that everything is cool and that we just have to keep doing what we've always been doing. And then that'll change. Like, no, it was never designed to change. It was only designed to expand. So people who are outside of that, they know what I'm talking about. And this is how I'm seeing the difference between last year and this year. Last year, people were still scared. People were still in that cognitive dissonance state. At the same time, they were watching, listening, and researching this information. So it was leaking out here and there by a few people who were who had gotten to that point of, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to share this information because this is real. This is actual. It's like actually breathing. You can breathe. You can only breathe synthetic air for so long. Once you realize that you've been breathing synthetic cancerous air. Once you actually look at it and see it for what it is, it won't last much longer. You have to adjust to the new universe. Otherwise, sickness and disease will manifest within that imbalanced nature that you keep bouncing back and forth from and between. This is why people need to gradually come into seeing this information, because it needs to be natural. It needs to happen. It needs to be rooted deeply in their system to be real outside of this synthetic reality. So the next version of climate change is like in reference to how they're trying to create a world around the superhero space that is for you, is this CERN mentality. So the Mandela effect was, amped up by the algorithms of YouTube and so forth to get you thinking in reference to alternate timelines and shifting of consciousness, and pretty much the fabric of what CERN is gearing up for, this simulationism, and all your scientism community, quantum physicists and astrophysicists, and even Elon Musk, Ray Kurzweil and Michio Kaku, they've all been speaking in reference to simulationism, which is basically, this is a computer program. So it's taking the natural connections that we have out of understanding our reality. It's formalizing the idea of the primitive nature, the savage nature of the old people. It's the new version of what the Jesuits did with their new religion in reference to the indigenous people and the Aboriginal people in the Americas. When they came over here, they said, no, what you're worshiping is primitive and savage. This is what you should worship. The new version of that is simulationism in this quantum world. It's another version of separating you from nature, separating you from the harmonics of your reality, and installing another power grid that they can just expand around, and they can profit off of. So CERN came out at the same time frame 50 something years ago, when NASA was pumped out. So you get the everyday, like the real world, the basic understandings of your reality being manipulated in some kind of way with stuff like the Mandela effect. And then when the time is right, when the status quo shifts and it plays into the so-called powers that be's hand to make a move, then they'll activate. Well, have you heard about the Mandela effect? Well, it's actually CERN. CERN has been playing with the fabric of our reality in secret. We can't reveal everything because this is secret. And it's actually us who's been changing the reality. So that's what they do to make themselves out to be another version of God. They can create a system that says down here that could wipe out the universe. That is the very idea of God. So they're saying, since we've discovered this God particle, we created a machine. So that's basically saying they have the power of God. This is what CERN is. It's not so much about what they're telling you this thing can do, because if the system itself is based upon illusion, then the illusion actually has the same effect as actually having the power to destroy the universe. If they tell you that they can destroy the universe and you believe everything that they tell you, then they don't actually have to harness the power to destroy the universe. They just have to tell you and confidently fear you into the idea that they can destroy the universe, and then mission complete. So that's what CERN is. CERN is, the idea of CERN is to do that, is to maintain, and all this stuff, all the technology and all the systems that are out there, is to maintain dominance over the so-called innovation of human consciousness, the evolution of science and humanity based upon scientism. They don't actually have to harness the capabilities to destroy the universe. They just got to tell you that they do. And as long as you believe it, then that's all that needs to be done, because now you've relinquished your connection to the organic universe and have submitted to their goddom, their godly dominion over you with these illusions like the European Organization for Nuclear Research, more commonly known as CERN, has the potential to destroy our reality. Well, who or what else has the potential to destroy our reality? Exactly. So they are making themselves out to be God. This is the intention of the heliocentric world. This is the intention of the colonial universe, is to make itself out to be God. If they could make themselves out to be gods of illusion within the globe model heliocentric universe, and now people are revealing the fact that this is not a heliocentric universe, they have to install a new version that makes them God. So here, enter in simulationism, enter in the God particle, and CERN, and interdimensional doorways, and quantum realities, and whatever else they want to science the shit out of to make a complex yet simple. It's complex in its infrastructure, but it's simple to understand. It's simple to understand because they've been dumbing it down with stuff like Ancient Aliens and Discovery Channel and Veritasium and all these other YouTube channels. That's why they were there, to dumb down the information so that you can easily accept it into your reality, yet still be dumb enough to not truly understand the infrastructure of it all, because you can just leave that up to the scientists. Just let them do that. They can handle that. Bullshit on all of it. So the age of information, or the year of information, is what 2017. This is how I'm seeing 2017. Last year was the ending of cognitive dissonance, and I coined it from January 1st, or the day before January 1st. Last year was the end of white supremacy. Donald Trump putting his face out there and filling his cabinet with that whole mentality, and you've seen it throughout the entire year. That's basically what the tone of the year was. Now, how I'm seeing it, the tone of this year is information. Real information. Not the bullshit that gets promoted by the so-called powers that be, but the information that empowers people. And having said that, the information that gets promoted by the so-called powers that be will be amped up and amplified. This is what this CERN stuff is. This is what possibilities of the alien agenda and all that secret space program, new age world, new religion, new world order stuff, all that stuff is also a potential in this time frame, but it will only go as far as the consciousness allows it to go. That's what I'm saying. I've been saying in so many other videos, this system has to go at the speed of consciousness that humanity maintains. And as humanity expands its consciousness with unveiling this information and holding that line against all odds of this manipulative, destructive, sickly, parasitic world, as long as people hold that line and continue to share information that they feel with every sense of who and what they are is true, then we'll be good. We're always going to be good, but we need people. We do need people to become people again and not submit to the synthetic versions of reality. So that's basically it. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.